Hey, Tom here. In this video, me, Nick and Mike are going to be taking a look at a new racing shoe, the Asics Metaspeed Sky. Let's see what we thought. The Asics Metaspeed Sky costs £225 or $250. It weighs in at 190 grams or 6.7 ounces for men in a size 8. The drop is 5mm and for us it fit true to size. The Metaspeed Sky isn't the first carbon plate shoe from Asics. That was the Meta Racer, but that only had a carbon plate in the front of the shoe, whereas the Metaspeed Sky has a full length carbon plate. It has a listed stack of 33mm at the heel, which is lower than the 40mm limit set by World Athletics, and the 5mm drop from heel to toe is slightly lower than what you'll find in a lot of shoes that kind of sit around the 8 to 10mm mark. There's a new nylon-based midsole foam called FF Blast Turbo, which is kind of an updated version of the FF Blast that you'll find in the Asics Novablast. It's also a little bit more similar to what you'd expect from something like Zoom X foam, so it's a bit bouncier and it's similar to what you'll get in the Vaporfly and the Alphafly. Asics have also released another carbon plate shoe that looks very similar called the Metaspeed Edge. Both of these shoes are designed for different types of runners, but with the aim of increasing your stride length when running at speed. The Metaspeed Sky is designed for those people that already run with a wide stride length, whereas the Metaspeed Edge is designed to help those more cadence type runners by extending their stride length while allowing them to change cadence easily.
Metaspeed Sky fit true to size for me. I actually found it quite a comfortable shoe to wear. I got a decent amount of room around the front of the toe box in my normal size, and I found it easy to get a secure fit locked down around the midfoot there.
So in terms of fit, it's been okay, you know. I don't think it's my favourite upper on a kind of shoe, but I think, you know, it kind of works, and it works in the sense that, you know, it's accommodating in terms of, you know, if you're going to run longer in this, you've got something that's quite spacious up front. You know, I'm sure if I'm still convinced about this kind of coarse feeling upper that Asics has used on this, but it obviously keeps the shoe nice and light, you know, reduces the weight on the shoe overall. The laces, again, I don't know if I love these laces, and someone kind of mentioned in the comments, I can't remember who did, but kind of suggested maybe swapping these out, and it's probably something that I would end up, I think, doing, just something that kind of pulls you in a bit more, I think, and just feels a bit nicer kind of in the lace department. But yeah, generally fit wise, it's been fine for me. I say it's not my favorite upper, but it's not a bad upper in that sense. I just think maybe I would, you know, I've seen something in other shoes which I think work a little bit nicer. So from a fit perspective, all good. This was a UK size 8. I don't think I would go to a 9. I think it would be very similar to what I had with the Meta Racer, which was a 9 that I had it in, and I'm an 8 obviously, and it just felt a little bit too big on that front, a little bit too long. I think the 8 for me was kind of true to size, worked for me. I think it's going to work for most people. I think, I say, no major issues on that front in terms of the fit. So yeah, the Metaspeed Sky on the fit front worked well for me.
The fit for me has been absolutely fine. I think this is a wonderfully comfortable shoe. I've had no problems with it at all. From the first time I put it on, it just felt to be really nice fitting. It feels quite roomy, but it still feels nice and locked down when you're running in it, which is what I like. I don't like a really restrictive shoe. Even for race day, I like to feel like there's a little bit of space in there. And I think this covers all of that. I think there's a lot of the cushioning around the collar section is spot on. It's exactly the right amount of cushioning that I like in a shoe. Not too much, but still enough to feel like there's a little bit of support around there for comfort. As always with the sort of race shoes that come out, I think the tongue's maybe a little bit thin. I like a little bit of padding on it just because it makes it nestle in the foot a bit nicer. I do find myself rearranging this tongue quite a bit when I've first put the shoe on just to get a nice fit. It's not a major issue. I have it with every race shoe basically that has a thin tongue, but just something to raise as well. Other than that, it is a very comfortable, stable fitting shoe that I've not had any major issues with.
I am not the kind of prototypical Metaspeed Sky runner. I am a very shuffly runner. I have a kind of a high cadence that only increases more when I kind of race and run faster. I increase my stride length as well. But I've absolutely loved running in this shoe. I've done 110k in it now. I don't think I've had a single bad run in it, from races to really hard long workouts. I've always been really impressed by how it feels underfoot. The ride's a little bit softer when you are running slower, but I haven't done huge amounts of slow runs in it, just kind of the odd shakeout or warm up. It firms up a little bit when you start actually pushing the pace, and you get a much more responsive feel. In that sense, it's quite similar to the Vaporfly for me, which does the same kind of thing. Like, it can feel quite soft and unstable when you're kind of just plodding around in it, but when you actually push the pace in it, you get a nice, smooth and slightly firmer transition and a lovely amount of pop off the forefoot there. It's not quite as soft as the Vaporfly at the back when you're kind of landing, but yeah, there's still a really nice feel to the ride in terms of comfort and pace. It's also, I think, maybe a tad more stable than the Vaporfly. I found this like a really good shoe for doing a lot of kind of loops on kind of workouts of like tight corners kind of quite regularly. So yeah, it's impressed me on that front as well. So out of the box, I did a quick shakeout run, and the next day I took him to run a 10k race, and I ran a nice PB in them. I ran a 32:32. We've got a race video up of me and Mike running around Battersea Park trying to set PBs. And yeah, obviously, you'd run a PB in a shoe straight away, you're going to feel pretty good about it. Obviously, lots of factors in the PBs, nice flat, fast course. Hadn't run a 10k race for actually probably like 14, 15 months before that. So it was all set for a PB, but it didn't disappoint. And it really felt nice, helping me to kind of control that 10k pace. And I certainly feel this is a shoe that's not just for kind of long races. I've done some kind of mile reps in it as well. I think it'd be a shoe I enjoy running a 5k race in as well. I think it's kind of positioned more as a marathon racer, but I think it's definitely got the speed for shorter stuff, whether that's sessions or the kind of shorter races. But it's also, got great kind of comfort and protection for long runs. I've done 2 really long workouts of them. The first was kind of a 4 times 5k session, running the 5ks at 340 per k pace with kind of an easy k recovery in between them, and it felt really good for that. Like, actually, to the point we were all a bit stressed that the GPS was wrong and we weren't running the actual pace. We all felt just really strong that day. And then I gave him another long workout at the weekend where I did 5 times 3k, cranking up the pace to kind of 325 a k pace, which is my current kind of half marathon pace. And again, it felt fantastic at that kind of speed. Again, kind of rounding corners at that speed, no problem at all. Running in the wet, I've had no problems with grip or stability or kind of slipping around there either. So yeah, I think it's kind of got it all. Like, it has the comfort there to go those long workouts. Like, my legs were tired at the end of them, and that was just kind of pure muscle fatigue. I hadn't done long workouts for a while. All positive on the running front with the Metaspeed Sky. I think it's kind of not quite as soft as maybe the Nike shoes or the New Balance RC Elite 2, but it's I think a little softer than things like the Endorphin Pro, Hyperion Elite 2, the Adios Pro even. I haven't tried the second one. It's got a lot going for it, but one problem and one question is probably durability. So you can see on the outside here, the foam doesn't extend all the way back. I am a heel striker, and I have ripped off a little chunk of that there, of kind of the exposed foam there. It hasn't affected grip or anything yet, but it is something to note. Like, Nike and Adidas have similar kind of designs on the back of their complex shoes, kind of 2 thin strips of rubber, but they extend a little bit further back and just catch these areas. I sometimes have this slight issue when it comes to Nike shoes as well, but when I do wear through those areas on the Vaporfly and the Alfly, it doesn't seem to wear very much, whereas this looks like it could be a bit more substantial. That's 110k, maybe after 200, 300, they've been in a bit more trouble. Obviously, it's a race shoe, it's not that big a concern, but maybe it's something that if you are a heel striker, you might be concerned about.
So I've done well over 50k in this shoe now, and I think it's a little bit like what I found with the Asics Meta Racer, in the sense that I didn't instantly love that shoe, and then the more miles I put into it, the more runs I put into it, it kind of grew on me, and that's what I've got with the Metaspeed Sky. I think obviously, even the first run, the kind of race test that I did, and the 10k race test I did with Nick, I just wasn't sure about this shoe. But I think once I've started to just turn to it for kind of longer kind of training runs, that's where I felt this shoe has been most beneficial. And I think I got a little bit obsessed about just trying to run fast in this shoe, whereas what I need to do is just go out and run my normal pace. And what I found on those longer runs is once I hit my kind of marathon kind of pace, or what I felt was my comfortable marathon pace, that's where this shoe really kind of felt great to me. I think it kind of engaged all of the good things that happened in this shoe to make it feel like a nice shoe for kind of longer distances. It just feels really nice. It feels like you're running quick without feeling that you're running quick. It just feels nice, consistent, and I think once you get going and you get at that comfortable, quicker pace that you're kind of used to, it can kind of get you running a little bit quicker at that at that point as well. So for me, the Metaspeed Sky is something that I've grown to love running in. It's one that I've kind of picked up when I've wanted to go and do some kind of longer stuff in this shoe. I think, like I say, I've talked about the upper, and I don't know if I particularly love this upper on here, but it obviously is very well geared towards kind of running and giving that extra space that you might need, and those kind of longer distances. When the conditions maybe change in terms of how your feet are feeling and over that distance as well. So in terms of the outsole, it's been fine for me. I've managed to run in a mixture of conditions. It's mainly been road because the shoe is built for road running. The dry, kind of dry roads, it's been absolutely fine. I've run in some pretty bad rainy conditions as well, and the grip has kind of held up. Even though it's not fully covered in the grip, it's just those kind of key areas here, and there's a little bit more kind of up front. It's been fine for me, and the kind of traction front and feels kind of nice, kind of going around those corners. So yeah, for me, the running test and the running performance for me on the Metaspeed Sky is that it's one that I've grown to like, and I definitely think it's felt nicest running those longer distances, kind of hour and a half plus, running at my marathon pace, and getting me to run a little bit quicker at that marathon pace, and actually keep maintaining that marathon pace over the kind of duration of the run. So yeah, it's kind of a real massive thumbs up for me in terms of what I felt running in this shoe overall.
I've done about 60k in this shoe so far, and that's varied between 5k sort of shorter, faster sessions, all the way up to a 15k tempo pace, and a couple of track sessions as well. And I think it's delivered really well. I really enjoy the shoe, and I think it sits up there with probably the top 3 carbon plate shoes out at the moment, up with the Vaporfly, or maybe 4 with the Alphafly, along with the New Balance Fuel Cell RC Elite 2. It's a good all-rounder. I think it's very comfortable. I think it's a lot more stable than what you get from the Vaporfly. I don't think the plate is necessarily as noticeable as something like the Vaporfly, but I don't think that's a problem, because it doesn't feel like it's a shoe designed for running at speed. It feels like it's a shoe that's running at consistent pace, and getting those efficiencies off the back of it. When I do use this for track, it feels great. I enjoy it, but I don't feel like I'm going amazingly fast. I don't think like it's helping me go a lot faster. So I think for shorter distances, it's probably not as beneficial as something like the marathon, where that comfort and efficiency are going to come into play. I'm a massive fan of the Asics Novablast, especially at the price point that it sits at. And this FF Turbo foam does feel like a natural progression of the foam that you get in the Novablast. So if you really like that shoe and you're looking for a race shoe, this may be a good option for you.
So my verdict on the Asics Metaspeed Sky is that it's a shoe that I've kind of grown to kind of enjoy running in and kind of love running in. It was a bit like what I had with the Meta Racer, to be honest, but this is very different. This is definitely a shoe that I think is built for kind of half marathon to kind of marathon distance. There's one actually I would probably, and I am now considering maybe looking at kind of swapping my minimal stuff maybe and running in this shoe for kind of longer distances. It's one I've kind of instantly kind of looked to grab for kind of those longer training sessions, and I do think it's one that you want to say for those key kind of quality training runs that you want to do, and also for race day, just because definitely questions about the durability of this shoe, like a lot of high-end performance shoes. Now, obviously, I haven't run in the Nike and Adidas shoes, but I have run in some performance shoes, and obviously this is quite expensive and it's kind of up there. But I think it is a special shoe to run in, and one that I've enjoyed in. I definitely think it kind of lends itself to the shorter stuff, but I definitely think where it's going to excel is when you're kind of going a lot further. So yeah, for me, Metaspeed Sky gets a kind of a big thumbs up, and it's one that's kind of stuck in my rotation. It's in my rotation now for kind of those longer, kind of quicker marathon pace training runs.
My verdict on the Asics Metaspeed Sky is that I think it's a great all-round carbon plate shoe. I think it's got a lot of benefits that you get, or you expect to get, from carbon plate shoes. It does feel like a really nice, efficient shoe. It feels like you can run a nice consistent pace in it, and it feels like it's protecting your legs and kind of making you feel like you're not hitting the ground as hard every time, which is what you want when you're running longer distances. I would say that the biggest problem for me with this shoe is the price. At £225, that's probably the second most expensive carbon plate shoe out at the moment, around that, and I just don't think it's worth that much money. If I'm going to spend that much money on a pair of race shoes, carbon plate race shoes, for a big event or for a series of races coming up, and I've got the option of this or a Nike shoe, I'm probably still going to go for a Nike shoe. And that's not saying this is a bad shoe in comparison. I just think when put up against those shoes, it's just a little bit too pricey. I think if this sat around the £200 mark, maybe the £190 mark, it would be a great shout and definite contender for that sort of best carbon plate shoe. But for the £225 mark, I just think it's a very difficult decision, and I'm going to opt for the Vaporfly in my opinion, especially considering the Vaporfly 2 comes in at about £15-20 cheaper than that now.
My vote is that this is an absolutely excellent racing shoe. I think it's really versatile. I think it does very good at short distance races, but it's also got the protective cushioning for long distance races. To me, that makes it quite similar to the Vaporfly, which I think is very versatile and works really well across a range of distances. I still kind of prefer the Alphafly when it comes to the longer distance races, the extra cushioning there, but at the kind of shorter distances, I think it's a bit more of a wash between these shoes. It's got a really nice ride that is kind of a blend of the really soft super shoes and a slightly more traditional ride of some of the others. So I think it actually works somewhere in the middle where it's not overly soft and springy and unnatural, but it has got some of those elements, but it is maybe a slightly more natural ride than things like the RC Elite 2, which are very soft. In terms of where I'd rank it, I'd probably put it about level with the Vaporfly. For me, I really think it does a similar job and actually rides reasonably similarly. Maybe the Vaporfly's a bit softer on landing. I think it's a similarly impressive shoe. Like I said, the Alphafly I probably have slightly ahead, and then there's a few others. I think the Endorphin Pro is a slightly more natural, very smooth, but slightly firmer shoe that I think is maybe now I'm starting to think is slightly more suited to short distances, though I have enjoyed very long, hard runs of them in the past. The RC Elite 2 from New Balance is really fun, really great. We've got our review coming soon, but that's softer and probably more of a cruiser that's geared really for marathons and half marathons. I think the Metaspeed Sky is a bit more versatile. And then I haven't tried the Adios 2, but I think with the original Adios, I'd probably put it in a similar bracket to the RC Elite, a bit more of a cruiser for longer distances. I don't think for me, it felt like I had the all-out pop for kind of shorter race. So yeah, I think I rate it really, really highly. One problem is that durability, and obviously it's priced £225. It is £15 more than the Vaporfly, and maybe that'll be enough just to edge you towards the Nike. I think that's, it's a decent saving. A shoe that for me has proven actually to be quite durable, actually, more than I kind of expected when I was first using it. So yeah, there's that kind of toss-up there, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Metaspeed Sky is a top-tier carbon super shoe. Asics' first, I think, real proper super shoe, and if you're not necessarily the runner that's described by the kind of Metaspeed Sky's kind of description, the kind of bounding runner who increases their stride length, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm not that runner at all, and I've loved running in it. We haven't tried the Metaspeed Edge yet, but that seems like it profiles as kind of a more traditional running shoe with slightly lower stacks, maybe a slightly firmer feel, but hey, we're trying to get hold of it so we can test it out in the future. But I certainly would say if you're holding off from the Metaspeed Sky because Asics' kind of description of the two shoes has deterred you, don't be deterred. It's a great shoe that suits me perfectly well, and I'm not that kind of runner either.
That's it from us. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon. It really does make a massive difference to us. And don't forget to check out all the other videos we've got on the channel, from the latest running watches and headphones to all the newest trail shoes and road shoes that you can shake a stick at. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.